So next up, I am excited to introduce Ali Haeri with MNTN, who are one of our platinum sponsors at the event. Super excited for this session. It's time to take connected TV seriously. So big round of applause for Ali.
All right. Karen and Izzy had like great, lovely voices and now an uncultured American accent, so apologies in advance. I'm here to talk to you today about TV advertising. I saw the poll earlier and I saw that a lot of you are concerned with advertising, and so I think this is gonna be a really timely conversation. So that's me. I am not the most well-known executive at MNTN. If you may know, it's Ryan Reynolds, who is our Chief Creative Officer. The number one question I get asked from everyone is, does he really work there? And the answer is, yes, he actually does. And he's quite involved on the creative side. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation as well. So what I want to talk about today is obviously connected TV. You're hearing about it a lot in trade publications. So let's certainly talk about it. But sort of the point that I want to make here is that CTV shouldn't just be another line item in the media plan that your agency is giving you, or if you're in-housing, it shouldn't just be treated as another channel or repurposed video, advertising channel. It's something that you should really take seriously because it can really differentiate you. And as a marketing leader myself, I'm just constantly looking for differentiation, whether that be the channels that I use or how I use the channels. We just constantly want differentiation as marketing leaders. And so let's talk about how TV can actually be that. And so what we'll talk about today, really briefly, we'll talk about how the trends that we're seeing with regards to advertisers today. Then we'll take a step back for a second and look at what consumer expectations are from advertising. And then we'll get into CTV, how it's different and how we can utilize it in a more effective way as marketing leaders. The first thing to talk about, and I think I'm preaching to the choir here, is that ad spend is hitting a new high. Brands are spending a lot of money on advertising. This year alone, it's going to hit $287 billion. The dilemma here, though, something that everybody should be thinking about, is that a lot of these dollars are going to go to the most predictable channels. If we did this sort of Family Feud style, and I just asked you which channels are going to command the most budget, I think we can all sort of assume what those are. It's going to be a lot of money to paid search and paid social. And so this is the first thing to kind of consider. When all of this money is going to be funneled into the same channels, we're talking about programmatic marketplaces here. We're going to be driving up the cost of this very advertising that we're all doing. And so that's the first kind of consideration, going back to this concept of differentiation. If we want to really differentiate ourselves as advertisers, we need to be mindful of the channels that we're using and be smart about the budget that we're kind of deploying in this effort. Now let's talk about connected TV. Again, any trade publication you're reading, you're probably hearing about connected TV all the time. Seems to be an arms race going on in the advertising industry and the ad tech industry specifically related to CTV. Major ad tech companies are merging just to support the onslaught of CTV demand that's coming. First, looking at it from the consumer side of things, and I think a lot of you anecdotally probably sort of are part of this metric. You probably all are consuming TV through some sort of OTT device at home these days. 213.7 million number of viewers watching CTV every month, and this continues to grow. And also the average number of minutes every day spent watching TV via some sort of OTT device. Right now it's 80 minutes, and that's increasing as well. Now let's look at it on the brand side, from the perspective of advertisers. This year, we're looking at $19 billion being spent on connected TV. In just a couple more years, we're going to hit $27.5 billion. That is a lot of money going to this ad channel. And so you can't afford to get this wrong. Now, one more thing to consider in terms of the ad tech landscape and how that's going to influence what's going on with CTV is this is ad-supported connected television. And by the end of the year, it seems like Netflix is going to launch their ad-supported platform, and at that point, every major every major OTT subscription provider is going to have an ad-supported tier available to them. That's really important because, again, from an inventory standpoint, that's going to open up a lot of opportunity. Another thing to kind of consider with regards to these platforms, too, is that they have a lot of controls built into place. It's, consuming advertising in an OTT environment it's better than in a linear environment because the ad pods tend to be more infrequent and also shorter. So this inventory, even though it's going to open up, the pods are going to be finite. And so you want to be kind of considering that the industry is moving towards this and utilizing this opportunity for this inventory that's going to open up. One last bit in terms of sort of consumer sentiment is the fact that consumers aren't ad adverse. They're okay with advertising. And especially now being given this option by these major subscription providers of having an ad-supported tier that's lower cost or no cost, consumers are absolutely embracing that. So again, from an inventory standpoint, that's presenting a tremendous opportunity for advertisers because that's going to be more impressions that can be served. And even some studies show 73% of consumers polled say they prefer ad-supported CTV viewing. So CTV fundamentally is a better way to advertise. One thing to think about is if you've done any sort of linear TV advertising before, this is a huge departure from the way you're familiar with television advertising working. It's fundamentally programmatic advertising with just a different ad unit, but quite different from the world of linear TV advertising, especially if we're talking about things like targeting, measurability, the two most important components of TV advertising. They're fundamentally different on TV. If you're familiar with performance marketing, then all of this is going to sound very, very familiar to you. The big point that we make over at MNTN is that we think specifically CTV should be treated as a performance marketing channel. And when we talk about performance marketing channels, we're talking about precision audience targeting. Think of that experience you have whenever you've run campaigns on some sort of social media advertising platform with in-market audiences or any other specific audience that you're trying to hit. That capability is now extended to TV advertising, which can be a holy grail for a large brand. Adidas has the capability of hitting an in-market audience of people who are in market for Adidas products. That's advertising on easy mode, folks. Marketing to an audience segment that is already interested in this certain product category rather than trying to identify some TV network or TV show that aligns with some sort of interest of your target prospects. Also, this concept of video creative is still the most effective communication tool for brands, and I think the videos that we saw Karen show absolutely exhibited that. The Jamie Foxx spots were funny, and also the voice banking spot that we saw later on was incredibly touching, and that just kind of exemplifies the power of video. And so being able to deploy really effective, captivating, creative in this sort of environment can do wonders for your brand. And so when you're thinking about television as a performance marketing channel, the idea here isn't just for TV to be this sort of tactical channel to drive conversions. That's certainly valuable, but that's not everything that's important to us. Again, just kind of going back to this idea of strategy and unlocking creativity, that's something that is that we've been kind of employing over at MNTN, especially with our Chief Creative Officer, and I'll get to that in just one moment. But measurement is also something that's quite important, being able to measure the impact of your TV creative. And again, for those of you who are performance marketers, you kind of take for granted the fact that measurement is something that's just part of the process of running digital advertising. But people coming from linear TV advertising with these legacy Nielsen-style reports, this is going to be a huge shift for you when you sort of experience reporting in the realm of connected television. Now, just some thoughts on sort of standing out with connected television. One of the things that we like seeing our advertisers do, and we've done ourselves, is optimizing our creative using CTV. I mean, this is something that not a lot of brands have the budget to do on linear TV advertising. It's not a lot of brands who have so much budget that they shoot multiple commercials, different edits of the same one, deploy them on linear TV, run them, do these big media buys just to see which one resonated better. But we could do that in the case of connected television. Since some platforms like Mountain are self-serve, you could just edit the video, upload it to the platform, and an hour later, your TV advertising is live to observe the results. You can also do A/B testing. And so one of the things that we did, which was really amusing, was we had Ryan Reynolds shoot 2 ads for us. One where he's speaking straight to the camera, talking directly to marketers, which was great because we targeted only marketers. So we had this peace of mind that he was talking to our target audience. That was the A creative. The B creative was Ryan just narrating an ad about Mountain. And we ran the 2 ads on our platform as an A/B test. And we measured site visits as a measure of the performance of the 2 ads. And then we shot a follow-up ad where a real client success manager at Mountain broke the news to Ryan that it was actually the ad that he narrated and not was actually featured on the camera talking to prospects. That was the one that that performed better. And it also won an award from Ad Age for one of the best commercials of the last year. Well, we just really kind of took our own best practices in this case. We went ahead and we created different creative, got it out live as soon as possible, and were able to get results pretty quickly. Some of our larger advertisers, what they've been doing with this capability is doing exactly that, testing the creative on the Mountain platform, seeing the results, and letting that influence which ads they run on linear TV. So it's not to say that this is a zero-sum game. It's either going to be linear TV advertising for you or connected television. You can use one to enable better success on the other. Now let's talk about audience targeting for a second, because this is what also unlocks a lot of creativity. So as the performance marketers know, there's a difference between first-party data and third-party data, and these different types of data can be used in different ways. And so with first-party data, what we've been seeing our advertisers do, a lot of D2C brands that have large loyalty programs are using their audience lists for targeting. So they're creating campaigns specifically for people that they identify as being part of their loyalty program or previous customers, targeting them with really effective advertising or some sort of exclusive messaging. On the third-party side, at Mountain, we have an integration with Oracle Data Cloud. What this means is, again, that sort of performance marketing experience that you have on other channels is extended over to television. So again, all of those in-market audiences. If you're a mortgage company, again, rather than guessing a TV network and show to target for people who would want to sign up for a mortgage, instead you could just neatly target people who are in market for a mortgage. So depending on what your objectives are as an advertiser, CTV can really sort of enable a lot of that creativity and also give you a lot of precision as an advertiser too. This is the big sort of reorientation for a lot of linear TV advertisers. Linear TV advertisers live with the fact that there's a lot of inherent waste to doing linear TV advertising, whereas in the case of CTV, there's no reason for it to be as wasteful as it is otherwise. But just a quick note about Mountain. Why do people use Mountain if you're curious? A couple of things. And Mountain is sort of geared towards really anybody. B2B advertisers find success on Mountain. B2C advertisers certainly. A lot of large advertisers specifically find success on Mountain. First of all, with this idea of living room quality, Mountain only serves on TV-connected devices in the home. We're not talking about laptops or mobile devices that are streaming OTT content. We're talking about any device that's plugged into a television. More importantly, and back to this concept Karen mentioned related to brand safety, we only serve on top-tier networks. So like ABC, ESPN, these really well-known networks that themselves, with their programming, are mindful of brand safety, and so therefore, that's sort of extended to our advertisers. One question you may have is, well, how do you measure all of this stuff? Well, we have this cross-device attribution technology that tracks the leap that someone makes from an impression on a television in their household to a device, visiting a website and later converting on the website. This is something that's really important culturally for a lot of CMOs to understand. I've had a lot of conversations with my peers who are kind of dismissive in some instances of measurability of TV. I think a lot of it is because culturally they come from the agency world and they kind of present themselves as brand marketers and in some instances being sort of above the measurement of these campaigns. But there's no shame in understanding the efficiency of a television advertising campaign. Especially if you have an understanding of how your creative translates into conversions. This is a conversation we have with Ryan very regularly, which is, this ad that you created for TV resulted in this many demo requests for our platform. We're a B2B company, so we drive demos. And so he knows that very clearly. And there's been a lot of instances where we've created creative that hasn't landed as good as some of the others, in which case we tell him, and we modify our creative accordingly. So exactly these best practices that we're preaching, we're mindful of as well. The last thing that I'll kind of mention too is this idea of fast advertising. This is something that Ryan, a term that he kind of coined originally that we're very mindful of. As I mentioned, we acquired Ryan's creative agency, Maximum Effort, and what they're so good at is creating creative that captures a cultural moment. All of Maximum Effort's clients are just constantly coming to them to get a cultural moment. I think a lot of people may have seen the Peloton ad that came out a couple of months ago too. That was shot, that was ideated, shot, and uploaded to our platform in 48 hours. And so it's not easy for every brand to do that, of course, but the idea, the big concept to extract from all of that as marketing leaders is the fact that with capabilities like this, if you have a good idea, you can deploy it very, very quickly and see some sort of impact from it, rather than sort of accepting the fact that marketing campaigns take a very long time to execute. So concluding here, just a couple of points to hit on. As we talked about, channels, everyone's using the same ones. How are you going to differentiate yourselves? Be really mindful of that. And even for the channels that you're using, find ways that you can differentiate yourselves from other advertisers on it. CTV is blowing up, but not everyone is on there right now. And so it's a great way to kind of cut through the noise as an advertiser. Second, think of CTV as a performance marketing channel. Even if you identify as a brand marketer, it's still a performance marketing channel, and understanding the impact of these of your advertising is always going to be beneficial. Next, from a branding standpoint, if you are a brand marketer, it's a way to actually stand out as much as possible. You can refine your messaging by targeting really specific audiences. That unlocks a ton of creativity itself. And then finally, A/B testing, transparent reporting, all of these sorts of features that are available on platforms like ours. This is really what's allowing a lot of marketers to kind of differentiate themselves and really stand out. So think about that as you're just kind of thinking about how unique you can be, and also optimizing your customer experience. This can be a channel that can really enable that. Man, I'm right on time. But any questions that I can answer before I jump here? Yes? B2B firms, small and large. The great thing about B2B is, again, we're sort of patient zero for B2B advertising on the platform. We do it ourselves. And so in the case of B2B, yeah, we have a lot of, we're talking about like hardcore B2B clients, not the ones that still have this huge reach, but ones that are driving demos like us. Their conversion is a form submission on a website, not some sort of transaction. But we, of course, also have B2B brands that are doing user acquisition as well. In all instances, they could do conversion tracking in the platform too. So you can directly attribute platform signups or form submissions to the TV campaigns that you ran, which is pretty important these days, I'd say, with everyone at home. Yes?
How big is your internal creative team? It sounds like you do a lot of the creative for your customers as well.
Yeah. So we acquired this agency. We also made another acquisition earlier this year of a creative marketplace called QuickFrame. And so we use our own capabilities for doing that. And then we also turned around and created something called Creative as a Subscription. So for advertisers who sort of commit for the long term, for like an annual subscription, we will go ahead and bundle in regular refreshes of their creative at no additional cost. So you just commit to your media spend, and quarterly we'll go ahead and refresh your creative using all of these creative capabilities that we have. But yeah, we do pretty well as a B2B shop. Yes?
What's your take on QR codes?
Yeah, that's the big question after the Coinbase ad. They're effective. The only consideration there is it depends on how long your ad unit is running. If you're talking about running a 15-second ad unit, that might be a little too short to throw a QR code on the screen to get someone to interact, but 30-second ad unit sounds good. We've been noticing a trend towards QR codes with the ads that are running on our platform, so it certainly seems to be working quite nicely for people. But you don't need QR codes to measure, by the way. Like, you know, the measurement technology is more robust than that. But it's a clever thing. Yeah?
You said that consumers aren't ad averse. Does this apply to all consumers, or does it apply to perhaps the target audience?
These are e-marketer studies that we're looking at. So take it up with e-marketer, I'd say, and let me know what they say, because we're basing a lot of our marketing decisioning off of that. But I don't know. Generally speaking, I think as a lot of subscriptions are going to a free model, it's not so much that people love TV advertising as much as it is that they're willing to exchange their time and exposure to TV advertising in exchange for premium content. Yes. I mean, I think it's certainly possible. I mean, I think the experience is conducive to it, but I think Karen made a great point with regards to like audio advertising and the context of it. I think it just needs to be tastefully done, but it's certainly something that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, last question, I guess. Yeah.
Who in your business would you count as an expert in the business to consumer instead of business to business?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
So instead of a business-to-business advertisement, a business-to-consumer, we're trying to get them, to respond. Like right now, we're working with Amazon. You're working on advertising one business to other businesses?
Oh, no. So brands use our platform to do advertising to their end users.
Oh, okay.
So in some instances, it's businesses that are advertising to other marketing or other professionals in a B2B capacity, but a vast majority of our platform are, Neiman Marcus, lumber liquidators, like they're using our platform to advertise to their consumers. Great, thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.